Everybody, welcome back into Pritch's Get Stitches. We're glad you found us. We're glad you're here. Holly, how are you doing today?
You know, I'm all right. Again, I have to complain about this heat and humidity, though. It's supposed to be 105 today. And, my son in Utah texted me yesterday and he says, oh my gosh, it's so hot. It just hit 100 degrees.
Oh, man.
And so I had to respond back and say, like, cry me a river. Like, that's every day here. And it may be 100, but it feels like 115. So don't come crying to me about it.
Yeah, it's been ridiculously hot, and it's all week. All week this week's going to be triple digits. I think we had a reprieve when it rained a little bit. It was only 90 something. So, and
you know, the sad thing is I remember because that was on Sunday when I came over and I was thinking, wow, today's very cool out. And it was like 90 degrees.
Yeah, it's not been great. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous what it is. And so you just stay inside. That's what I do. Like, I feel bad. I'm like, the kids, like, we haven't even gone to the pool much. And it's just like they get roasted and it's nasty. And the pool water is 96 degrees. And you're like, it's not
refreshing. It's like a bathtub.
Yeah, exactly.
Our cousin Susie's in town visiting because her husband has family here. And they have a pool. And she's like, oh, I'm in the pool every day. And they're out there every day, all day. And I'm like, how are you sitting out there? Because it's hot outside. The pool is hot. It's not refreshing.
Yeah.
It's just gross.
I don't know. Maybe I'll take my kids over to the pool here in the next day or two. Get some sun. They literally have been inside. We've been inside forever. It just, we went the other night and it was still in the 90s and the pool was still warm, but it was fine because the sun's not roasting. We talked about that before. Like, it's just the roasting of the sun on your body. And I'm sure that we're not going to reapply the sunscreen like we should. And then I'm going to get nasty sunburn. So
you're just going to have to tell them all to wear shirts like we did when we were little. Sunscreen or a shirt.
Yeah, shirts are the worst. I mean, shirts were bad as a kid. Probably good now because they actually keep you cooler, but with water on it. But whatever.
But as a kid, we never wanted to wear them.
Oh, no. It was the worst. But anyways, Holly, yesterday I found out an interesting fact, and I thought that you might want to get your reaction to this. So I'm listening to the radio, listening to the XM, and anytime the song "My Milkshake Brings All the Boys to the Yard" comes on, I have to stop and sing it.
Same. That's a good one.
Yep. And so, yes. So as the song finishes, the DJ comes on and goes, "I did not expect this in 2023 that Khalees would be dating Bill Murray." So I had to look that up.
Wow.
Yeah.
She was married to Nas forever. I knew that they were. I don't even know if I knew they were divorced because that's how tuned out of.
Well, I looked it up and it said that her second husband died. So apparently she's been married. Nas hasn't died, I don't think. So she's been married a second time. And now that husband died. And now she's dating Bill Murray. Like
Bill Murray from like Ghostbusters?
Yeah. Like,
I mean, I do love
old white dude Bill Murray.
I do love Bill Murray and he's hysterical. And if you ever see him, like he'll pop in on like random, like if somebody's at a restaurant, I don't know, you ever like follow him on anything on social media?
No.
See, and I don't have social media, but I'll read like news articles that have him where he's like surprise people or somebody will invite him, send an invite to their birthday party and he'll like show up at the birthday party and like party with them, like stay the entire night. Like he's like a pretty gracious celebrity and he's talked about like the only reason I'm like who I am today is because of my fan base. So he's very like open with them, but I can't wrap my mind around that. I like him. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
See, but here's also the thing. I'm a shallow person. So as much as I'm an intellect or whatever, I'm also. Ooh.
Here he is.
She's not even attractive right now. I'm not going to shame her. I'm not going to shame her or him actually, as long as they're happy. But that's a little. Wow, that really took me off guard there because I'm not one of those people. Like if you're not attractive, well, we're not dating.
Milkshake brought him to the yard for sure.
I don't even know what to say to that.
So then instantly I just thought, I don't follow Khalees. I don't know what music she has other than My Milkshake Brings All the Boys to the Yard.
She has one of my favorite songs. I'm Bossy.
Oh, is that her too?
Yeah, that's her. That's like that's my anthem.
Okay. So she has a couple songs and then instantly I just thought, my next thought was, I ain't saying she a gold digger. Right. And then I get out of the car. I walk up. I was serving a paper. So I go serve the paper. I come back and Gold Digger was on the radio.
Hilarious.
It's pretty funny. But anyways.
So, I mean, I feel like she has no reason to be a gold digger. I mean, may not have had a whole lot of hit songs, but she was on a lot of like backup stuff before. She was married to Nas, and my assumption is she got a pretty good settlement out of that.
Yeah, I
don't know. Maybe it's his humor.
She likes the old white guy. He's 72. She's 43.
Okay, so
she's your age, Holly. Your age, dating like
I could do it.
Dating like dad. Yeah,
couldn't do it.
Except
I've been watching.
Dad's a little older than that,
right? But I've been rewatching Sex and the City, or I just finished rewatching the series. And there's in one episode, Samantha at the time is 42 and she decides she's going to date a guy. He's like in his 70s. And so she, like in one of the scenes, it's like, Samantha found that in the dark, no matter the age, a man's touch was a man's touch. Blah, blah, it goes on, he all felt the same. But then he gets up and he says, excuse me, got to go to the little boy's room. And as he walks into the bathroom, because she had the lights off. So when he opens the door, she can see like the back of him as he's walking in. She goes, but she also realized that a 73-year-old has a 73-year-old man's butt. And she dumps him after that because it's like old and saggy. That's all I can think about with Khalees and Bill Murray. Now I got Bill Murray's saggy booty in my mind. Gross.
So I told you before we started the show, I said, hey, I've got a fact that I'm going to share with you in the beginning. Just want your blind reaction. So and the thing is, like, I always say things like, hey, did you know blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh yeah, I knew that 3 weeks ago. I'm like, I just found that out. So I'm glad I got you on something that you didn't know. Got your good reaction.
I still can't.
Okay. So Holly, last podcast, we were supposed to drink bacon soda.
I think in the podcast before, we were also supposed to drink bacon soda. We've been promising this for a minute.
We have been promising bacon soda for a while. And the last one, it was like, absolutely, for sure. Like 2 episodes ago, we were like, for sure, we are drinking bacon soda. We start the show and I have ranch dressing soda. And there was a reason for that I made the switch. And it had to do with the story that you had told me earlier in the week. And then you were going to share the story last episode and we went too long and you shared your great news about getting into grad school and then something else that you talked about.
Like opening mail.
Yes. And so we didn't end up getting to the story. So we cliffhangered them. So, let's start with the ranch dressing in the hair. And then we got it. Lester's Fixin's Bacon Soda. So we got it this time.
All right. So this is kind of like a Pritch moment. This is very indicative of who we are. So last couple weeks ago, I had made some ranch dressing. You use milk, mayonnaise, the ranch powder. So I get it all made. And I had decided I was going to add a little bit of extras. Every once in a while, I'll throw in something. So I threw in some dill and some garlic to make it like a garlic ranch dill. And I made it, ate it. The next day, I was going to eat it again because I had gotten Wingstop and ran out of the ranch dressing. So I was like, I'll just use mine. Well, it was had a little bit like too much dill in it. So it's a little strong on that side. So I was like, I'll add some additional ranch powder to it. Well, I pulled the ranch powder out and it had clumped up a little bit. I think just from like the humidity moisture and everything. Right. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I'll shake up the ranch powder before I stick it into, because I couldn't, it was like clumpy. Like I was able to use it the day before because I had gotten all the loose powder off. So mind you, I was dressed, had my makeup on, my hair done because I was going to eat and then I was going to meet a friend out for drinks. So I decided I'm going to shake up the powder. So of course, I don't shake it like a normal person would, where you like hold it away from you. I'm going to shake it really hard like this. And as I go to shake it, I realize that the lid is not closed and I shake it hard and ranch dressing flies into my face, into my eyes, all over into my hair, all over the floor. So it's like half that bottle of ranch dressing was all over me. So I texted my buddy and I was like, I'm not going to be able to make it out tonight. Like, I'm not feeling great. Really, it was because I was like, I'm already dressed already. Yeah, I don't want to have to go get in the shower now, then redo everything to go out again. So I was like, forget it. That's done with. So yeah, ranch powder.
So ranch powder all over yourself. So that was the day before. So then we had ranch dressing soda the next day.
Right.
And it was disgusting.
Terrible.
So we have these Topo Chicos still, I think, in our fridge. Maybe you could pour some ranch powder into the Topo Chicos and make some ranch soda.
I mean, you should try that with the kids. Tell them. There you go. They like to make ranch sodas disgusting. Or sodas.
Yeah, disgusting. All right, so here's the big moment, Holly. The bacon soda, Lester's Fixin's Bacon Soda, and it smells like bacon.
Oh, it does. Oh, God.
I don't even know.
Ooh, good thing I brought coffee. I did bring it because I was like, we're doing bacon soda today. So I had my one coffee, decided I'd get a second.
Go.
Ooh, ready?
I'm going to drink the whole thing. I'll chug it.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. It's like bacon grease. Oh, that is terrible. It does taste like bacon, and I like bacon. I don't want a bacon soda.
Whose idea was this?
I said gefilte fish.
I mean, you don't think that's going to be worse than bacon soda?
I 100% think it'll be worse than bacon soda. But at least I'm not responsible.
I still have tuna and oil there.
I can't believe you chugged that whole thing. I got like not even halfway down, and I could just taste that. All I could think of is this is what bacon grease would taste like, because it's not, you're not chewing for the bacon effect.
It's disgusting. Every time I have these things, it makes my eyes water.
Well, here's the thing. It's weird because we both love bacon.
Yeah, but bacon soda, we both love ranch dressing too.
That's true. Oh, I do not recommend that, guys. Ranch dressing soda, bacon soda, dinosaur dung is out.
It's a dirt soda. They thought that was the worst.
Black olive.
We have sweet corn out there still. Sweet corn and pimple popper, which is actually marshmallow flavored, so it may not be too bad.
We'll have to try those on the days that we can't figure out what we're gonna eat.
Okay, so baking soda's out. Definitely not. I'm trying baking soda. Drinking that. Make my kids drink it.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gross. It was a weird color too. It was like red.
Yeah,
it was not even
red.
Yes, so.
Ugh.
Well, to go along, Holly, before we jump into the fun fact of the day, to go along with what are we eating? So last episode we talked about health journeys, kind of losing some poundage. How's that going for you?
You know, it's going pretty good. I won't tell you my starting weight because I'm a woman and you never ask a woman her age or her weight. So I won't tell you that. But
I'll just say it was less than mine.
Yeah, I'm down 5 pounds, but I've also decided that I get to subtract 16 pounds overall because each of my boobs weigh 8 pounds. I've decided 8 pounds is right.
So does a human head.
I get to subtract 16 pounds. That's my thing. So, if I subtract the 16 and the 5, I'm down 21 pounds. But
well, your starting weight's down 21.
Yeah, but
down 16, I should say.
But yeah, I've been doing good. I've been rowing. Today I didn't row again because when I row, I have a beet red face. So I usually take Fridays and Sundays off from rowing. But this week, since we're recording 2 episodes to catch up, I'll take today and Friday off.
Yeah.
Yesterday I rowed an hour. And I'll tell you, it's awesome that I am so competitive because I'm super competitive even with myself. So yesterday I sat down to row and I was like, I'm just going to do a 20-minute row and then maybe I'll do some like additional working out. And then I sat down and I saw that there was a 48-minute row, like an unaccompanied where you just row. So I was like, oh, well, I rowed 45 minutes on Saturday. So I guess I'll do this 48-minute row and then I'll be done. But then I rowed 48 minutes and I was like, but I'm only 12 minutes away now from 60 minutes. So then I rowed 12 more minutes to get the 60 minutes. But I will say, I mean, I've been doing decently, not as good as I was, before when I stopped. I was always 1 or 2 on the leaderboard. So last week I hit 4th place on 1 row. And then on yesterday's 48-minute row, I hit 7th. It was a little disappointing for me just to get 7th. But the sweet spot I'd like to hit before I hurt myself is 12,000 meters a row. And so I hit over 12,000 yesterday in the 60 minutes. Good. So yeah. Burned 626 calories and I just sit there and I jammed out. You know what makes me so happy though? What? 90s and early 2000s rap and hip hop.
That's what I listen to when I work out too.
Man, yeah. So I have it on just the XM. They have the 90s, 2000s workout, the extra channel, or they just have like a bunch of different 90s and 2000s channels. Yeah. So I just turned on that and just rode all day and it was like smiling, singing along as I'm rowing, like as I'm dying also because my stamina is not quite caught up. But yeah, so I'm doing pretty good. I only drank once last week. I'm got to put that out there. One night.
Wow.
Yeah, my cousin and I, we went out. She drove. I drank. But that was it. I know. Because, my brain is now switched. Remember we talked about getting my brain to switch?
Yep. You said when you're working out, you're going to do it. Nope. So I'm okay too. I started at 223. I weighed in today at 216. Nice. What's crazy is the first day, so Sunday I was like 223 and then Monday I was 217. Like instantly like, hey, I'm going to work on losing weight and I dropped 5 pounds. And then it's a little bit harder after that. So I have not really worked out much this week. I just have been trying to eat a little bit better, except last night, man, I just gave in to I just did a small bowl, just a small, usually it's a ginormous bowl, but I just did a small bowl of rice checks because Val bought rice checks and I haven't had rice checks for a long time and they're delicious. Yeah,
but rice checks is good for you. That's not like anything bad. They're pretty decent. If you're of all the cereals,
they're probably better than Frosted Flakes.
Better. They're unsweetened, so they don't have like all the extra sugars.
I almost got the Frosted Flakes though. I was close.
I don't ever, like I told you before, like I don't limit myself. So I went last night to hang out with Susie and them, and they had ice cream at the house. And so we were talking about like, let's go get ice cream. Well, the problem is if I go get ice cream from like Baskin Robbins or Cold Stone, like I have zero self-control.
Right.
So Susie's like, just get a child scoop. Like we talked about this at the house. I was like, Susie, in my mind, I'm like, I'm only going to get a child scoop. And then I go in and I'm like, hi, I'll take 5 scoops. Like there's no willpower there. So she's like, well,
mixed in with every sugary candy.
Right. So she's like, well, they have ice cream here because they're staying at her brother-in-law's house. And so I was like, oh, I'll just have some of that. And it's ice cream that I don't really like necessarily. Like it's never one that I would choose, but it was good enough for me to get like a small scoop and satisfy the craving. So I had like one small scoop of ice cream last night. So, I mean, and I worked out. So, I always tell myself like, and that's my gauge on whether or not I get dessert is like, did you work out? And so because I did, I was like, yeah, I can have a little bit, but it's hard going over to their place because they have all sorts of goodies. And I'm like, I can't come over here anymore. Y'all have got like, what's it called? The Muddy Buddies. They made Muddy Buddies. They had ice cream. They had cookies. So it was definitely like temptation, but I did pretty good.
Yeah. So we did, I had to go to Colleen last week and take a desk down there. Got the office a little reorganized a little bit, and they have candy all over. Peanut M&Ms, which I love, and all sorts of stuff. Ended up going to In-N-Out Burger. It is what it is. Had to eat something.
Every once in a while, you got to have those cheat days.
Yep. So with that, I was scrolling through the news the other day, and I just go on Google, like google.com, go to the news. They just kind of give me some headlines. And it's this is from eatthis.com. And it says, eat this, not that. It says, you'll never lose your belly fat if you're still eating these 10 things. So number 1 is pie.
Yeah. I don't eat pie normally.
Number 2 is brownies.
Don't eat that normally.
I'm like, you could have just been like, and eat dessert. Exactly. Number 3 is low-fat yogurt. Don't
eat yogurt because of texture thing.
Because low-fat yogurt, I was reading this one day, they make something low-fat, they take the fat out, it's disgusting, right? So what do? They load it up with sugar.
Add sweetener, yeah.
Yep. So it's usually more than 17 grams of sugar in a low-fat yogurt cup. So people are like, oh, I have low-fat, but it's loaded with sugar. Yeah. Number 4 is granola.
I eat that every once in a while. That's sometimes my snack, like just because but I don't eat it like every day or anything. So I'll say that mine's in moderation. So mine's all right.
Number 5 is cereal bars. Like I don't eat cereal bars. I'll eat protein bars. But they do say, opt for one. If you are going to have one, opt for one with fewer than 6 grams of added sugar and at least 8 grams of protein and 2 grams of fiber. So
yeah, I usually do the protein bars if I could do a bar.
Number 6, I don't eat this, but number 6 is canned fruit. So like canned peaches,
like peaches or anything.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Number 7 is barbecue sauce.
I eat that every once in a while, but not enough to worry about it.
2 tablespoons can have around 10 grams of sugar. And so I think the point is it's the sugar that keeps your belly fat. Right. Number 8 is canned baked beans.
I don't eat baked beans, so good there.
And I was really disappointed with number 9.
Gummy bears?
No.
Oh.
Biscuits and gravy.
I don't eat that either. That's so good. So you got to cut that out. But I feel like you don't eat that enough either.
I don't eat biscuits and gravy. Though. I ate it every day on the cruise. We went on that earlier this year. Some biscuits and gravy.
That's why you came back 12 pounds more.
And number 10 is sweetened dried fruit, which I don't.
Yeah, I don't eat that either.
Anyways, just something to throw out there. So I know that we've had at least one person call us and say, hey, just listen to your episode. Obviously, it's been one day. Usually we record on Fridays. Couldn't record last Friday. So today is Tuesday. We dropped our episode with the ranch dressing yesterday and talked about weight loss and things like that. And I've already had at least one person call, said, hey, watch your episode. I'm working on my weight as well. So just a few things to put out there. If you're eating those things, you should probably drop them out. Otherwise, your belly fat's going to hang around.
Well, and I can tell you that my stomach, I felt like before when I was telling you about like doing the Mediterranean lifestyle, I felt super bloated, obviously, because of all the nickel. And since cutting that back, I've noticed like my clothes are fitting fine again.
Yeah.
I'm still having to wear a little bit of a bigger size, but it's not as noticeable to me. And I think it was just that bloat around the stomach.
That happens to me. Like my belly will just be, like it can't fit in the shirt. I'm like, what's going on? And now I'm kind of, it's going to lose again. Actually, a couple years ago, we were going to a wedding. And so kind of did a weight loss thing. And at the time we just made Whole30 meals and just ate that. And I was running 5 miles a day and going to the gym. And I got down pretty low. I think it was down to like 188. So my ideal weight's like 185. Like I'm like, if I get to 185, then I'll decide at that point. Like that's where I look at myself. I'm like 185. Because I was never like 185 with muscle. I was always like 185 just fat. And so going to the gym and putting on some muscle, 185 will look a little different, I think, than the last time. So that's kind of my goal. So I didn't quite get there. But then, so anyways, my neighbor was like, dude, your shirts are looking like you're wearing like tablecloths or something, man. They're just super big because they're extra large shirts. And so when I got down, they were super, super big on me. So anyways, that's just continuing on that little journey of trying to, get back down a little bit so that I can kind of hopefully, obviously the goal is to get down and not have to eat that way forever, but obviously keep it in moderation.
You have to be, I was gonna say, you have to be real careful because the way you guys eat candy around here, it would very quickly gain back on if you're not being careful about it.
I know.
Yeah. And I don't do like an ideal weight necessarily. I kind of base mine on how are my clothes fitting? How do I look?
Yeah.
So like when I was at my best last year, when I was like super in shape and was getting a V and all of that, I was still at probably like 160, 155, 160. And I don't think I would want to go down much less than that, because I think then it's just too skinny. And I like to have curves, you know? So when you start losing too much, then I lose my curves, and I definitely don't want to lose those. So I don't have an ideal weight in mind. I just have an ideal look. Gotcha. Like, how are my clothes fitting? Can I fit into the clothes I wore last year? So I'm getting there, though.
It's good. Just keep going. Keep going.
Yep.
All right. So Holly, let's move to the fun fact of the day. What do you have for us here?
Okay, so this fun fact of the day has nothing to do with anything aside from my all-time favorite children's book is Goodnight Moon. And I can recite it. I love it. I don't know why. I just love it. And so my friend Sarah Kuzak, she's one of our listeners. So shout out to Kuzak. She sent me an article on, well, first she sent me a TikTok video. And I'll say it was the first time I ever received a private message on TikTok. And I had no clue how to even like get to the private message. It just like popped up. And then I was like, what's happening? Because that's how amazing I am with our social media. But then she sent me a follow-up article from the New Yorker. And it's about the author of Goodnight Moon and The Runaway Bunny, which are two pretty popular children's book. And her name is Margaret Weiss Brown. And so she published 142 books in her lifetime, children's books, and left over 70 unfinished manuscripts behind when she died. She was very progressive for her time. So she wrote children's books that didn't include like the moral of the story.
Right.
And because she believed that children couldn't comprehend the meaning. And so instead she focused on like simple words and phrases in her books and the way the words sounded together. And she often collaborated with children on book plot ideas and used a lot of their words for influence and some of their phrases in her books as well.
Right.
And so she was around in like the 20s, 30s, 40s. And she was in this school of thought about like simplistic ideas where most of the world wasn't in that. They had the fables and all of that. And so there was a librarian with the New York Public Library, and her name was Anne Carroll Moore, and she did not like that school of thought. And so Margaret Weiss Brown's books were actually banned from the New York Public Library until 1972.
Wow.
After
just
her death.
One person, yeah.
Yeah. And so this is the reason I brought this up, because all of this was to lead to how she died. So I always figured like she was some old lady, went into her old age and died, you know. But at the age of 42, she had a ruptured appendix, and she was in France. She goes in for surgery. She has it. She's good to go after like a day or two. The doctor's doing a checkup and she's going to be released. And so she's going to show the doctor that she's feeling perfectly fine. And she does a high kick. And upon doing the high kick, she dislodges a blood clot that had formed in her leg that goes immediately to her heart, and she drops dead on the floor of an embolism at age 42. And I'm like, she kicked her leg and died.
Wow.
Like, had no clue. I don't know why that fascinated me, or maybe because of like the whole aneurysm thing with mine, where they were like, you're real lucky to, like most people, when they get that thunderclap headache that I got, it's right before when people have an aneurysm in front of other people, they'll say, well, they said they had a really bad headache and then they fell over and died. Well, it's because that's the blood clot going to the brain. Well, I had that thunderclap headache where I was like, oh my gosh, this is the most intense pain ever. But then it stopped. And so for whatever reason, like the blood clot was I had the aneurysm with a blood clot, but it didn't go to my brain. I didn't die. But maybe that's why it's pretty insane to me. But yeah, because she was a year younger than I was and kicked her leg up and died.
What a way to go out, huh? It's tough. Like, hey, I'm good. And then,
right. And she was engaged to a Rockefeller. Right. She was engaged to a Rockefeller, and he gets told, and he's like, what? I just talked to her. Like, she was fine. She was getting released.
That'd be tough.
Moral of the story, don't do high kicks.
Oh, well, I don't do high kicks. I can't. My body's not flexible. But interesting fun fact of the day.
Not really fun, kind of morbid, but I don't know why. I just guess that it was like interesting, because you just don't assume somebody goes out that way. Like,
we could have stopped it. She published 142 books, one of which was Goodnight Moon. Hey.
We could have. I think though, literally, I really think it's just because of the blood clot.
I feel like everything with you goes to like death and like somebody killing somebody else. And then we learn about it later. Like, you came to my house the other day and you were so excited to tell me.
I wasn't excited.
That they found the killer on Gilgo Beach.
Okay, I was excited.
You were excited. I didn't even know about this thing. Okay, like, I didn't even hear about it. And you're like, I've watched 47 documentaries on this, and they hadn't even caught him yet.
Here's what, I don't want to use the word excites me. I'll use the word fascinates. What fascinates me about like serial killers is like how are they able to compartmentalize? Because serial killers typically live double lives. This guy was the Gilgo Beach guy, successful architect, has a wife and children, but he can like go out and murder somebody and then go home and kiss his wife and put his kids to bed. Like, how do you, like, how does your brain, I feel like it's got to be something, I don't know what's the word, I'm like biological, like how do you split into two different people? So that's what fascinates me. And like, what is the motivation behind it? It's not because they killed somebody and it's death and I want to know about death. It's more like, how do you operate? How do you go to work every day? How are you a successful architect? And then you've kept this secret for so long. Fascinating to me. That's what's fascinating, like the psychology behind it. Because I love psychology. Like if I could do my life again, I might have gone into like something with psychology. Not necessarily being a like a therapist.
Holly, but you do your life again every 3 years when your student loans are due. Just go into psychology. I mean, you already.
That's true, because I'm going right now into terrorism. Yeah, and I have considered like maybe I'll go into like psychology. Maybe that'll be my next one.
Like if I could redo my life, you're like always redoing that.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. Well, Holly, I have some exciting news.
Let's hear it.
If you guys watch our show on YouTube, you will notice that we kind of have the same background. We've talked about this before. We're in the same room side by side. You guys know that. But I've had this little plant right here behind me. And about a week ago, we went from 2 leaves to 3. I don't know if you noticed that. But this guy right here, Val, one day was like, hey, it's looking kind of like the leaves are kind of like not as dark green, like something's happening. And all of a sudden, this dude just popped out of it. And I had no idea that these plants could reproduce themselves. And we went from 2 leaves to 3 leaves.
How does that happen?
I don't know. It just came out of its stem.
Drop a seed or a spore?
No. So if this is the stem of it, all of a sudden it was like this, whoop, and then boom.
I mean, I guess that's like with trees. You have new branches and stuff.
Maybe. I have no idea. So if somebody knows.
How long have you guys had that tree?
Maybe a year. So like another neighbor gave us 2 of those leaves, gave us the 2. And it's just been in my bedroom. And then we moved it here just kind of as we started doing the podcast. But so it was pretty cool. I don't even know. Val knows what they're called. I don't even know what they're called, but the leaves like get holes in them and then they split and apparently they reproduce themselves. So we went from 2 to 3 like in a week.
You're a grandparent.
Yes. And
I was trying to think of something punny off of like parent and plant, but I couldn't think of anything. Grand planter. That didn't work out. So.
And just wanted to share with you that, you can't keep anything alive and I don't do anything with that. My wife does, but plant, waters it and does like all that, but it's in my office. Listen, my Snapdragon, I had one job. My one job was to keep the flowers alive. And I thought I was watering them enough and it was just too hot or the bunnies were eating it. Nope, I didn't water them enough. Turned on the water more and all of a sudden all the flowers came back.
See, and I had the exact opposite problem. When Elizabeth and I lived together, we had a garden and I would overwater. And so finally, Elizabeth's like, you're not allowed to do anything with the garden. Like I helped her build it. Like we put the stones around, we got the dirt, we planted. And after that, she was like, don't touch the garden. Because I was overwatering and killing everything. But I'm like, but it's hot. I wanted to make sure they didn't die. And she's like, no, you're out. Like, don't do anything with the garden anymore. And, we spent so much money on that garden. We ended up getting like one tiny bell pepper and we did get lettuce. We planted lettuce and got a ton of that. But I think the problem was, so we didn't do research on like, what should we plant? So we just thought, what do we like to eat? And so that's what we planted. So you ever planted zucchini before?
Oh yeah, we did. We had a square foot garden in Colleen.
So we planted this garden. We had lettuce, bell peppers, tomatoes, zucchini, and that zucchini took over the entire garden. So we had tons of zucchini plants, like the plants, but we never got any zucchini out of it. I don't think we ever got, maybe a couple actually, but they were small. But I think it was just, it ended up kind of spreading and taking over and it covered, like their leaves covered everything. So we weren't very successful gardeners.
Yeah. So we had a square foot garden in Colleen and we ended up getting zucchinis and cucumber. I don't remember what we got. Watermelon. I can't remember. But there was a zucchini. Jared was holding it. I mean, this thing was bigger than his head. It was ginormous. And if I remember correctly, it was not very good.
Bitter?
Like it was bitter. It had gotten too big. But it was like one day it was like here and then the next day it was here and then the next day it was like, boom.
Yeah.
Dang. So
but I enjoy doing gardening. I'm just terrible at it. And everything I touch dies. So I don't have any plants at the house. nothing living in my apartment. And then people want to like, oh, you should get a fish or a plant. And I'm like, nope. Like, I just kill everything. It doesn't work out. I forget to feed it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I am not done very well at this because honestly, it's too hot. And I'm just like, I don't want to go outside.
You got to get up early.
Sit out there and, so Val does the, we had some that had died or had gotten, I don't know if they died. They just didn't have enough water. So she cut them all back and she does all that. She's good at that.
Make sure you let your therapist know that Val has taken over your hobby.
Yeah. I don't really care. Honestly, like whatever. So Holly, how's the dating life going?
It's rough out there. It's not going great. I ended up deleting the app a couple weeks ago, but then I've been real bored. So I was talking to Erin yesterday and she and I are chatting back and forth. And I was like, I think I'm going to have to download another dating app. Especially if I'm not drinking at the house.
Are you talking Aaron Wilson Burger?
Aaron Wilson Burger.
Who loves Honey Crisp apples more than Cosmic Crisp?
Lies. She, again, is mad that I beat her. I beat her again today in Wordle and Quordle and Sequence. But so I was telling her, like, I'm probably going to have to download a dating app again. She's like, well, I didn't know you got rid of it. And I was like, yeah, like a few weeks ago, like after the whole catfishing thing and the guy asking me out at 9:30, I was just like, this is too much. So I got rid of it. So now I'm on the hunt for a different dating app, though. Tinder's out. Bumble's out. I might try Hinge, see how that one goes.
I think there's one for Mormon people called Mutual. You should try that.
Oh, Jesus. They'd love me. I can't even right now. I like literally have nothing to say to that. There's like nothing there. But here's the thing.
I think you should do the farmer one just to do.
That's the last thing I want. But I'll tell you, here's what I think I'm going to do. So again, mentioned rewatching Sex and the City. There's another character on the show, Miranda. And she decides she's going to do speed dating. And so she goes to this event and it shows her like going through a little bit with several different guys. And the conversations always start off really good because I think it's like you have 3 minutes to go back and forth or whatever. But then as soon as she mentions she's an attorney, like the dudes don't want to talk to her anymore. Like once she mentions any hint of success. So then she decides on the very last one that she's going to be a flight attendant. So she's like, I'm a flight attendant and like gets dates like immediately. Right. And so I was like, maybe I'll do that. Maybe instead of putting on there, like, I'm a deputy director at a tech company, I'll just put on a podcaster and see what happens. Maybe that'll...
And just see. And then they'll want to watch it. And then we might get more viewers.
And listeners. I will say, every time I go going on a dates and they ask, and I say, or I'll mention like in passing that you and I do this podcast and they'll be like, oh, like, I need to get your stuff so I can watch it. Like, I'm like... That's too personal. Like, I don't want to get somebody I don't know, even if like, I don't know. I just feel like it's personal and I don't want somebody in my life like that yet. So like, there's a couple guys who I still talk to, like one who I met and it's not like romantic or anything between he and I, but I like him, like good buddy. We chat all the time. So he hasn't listened to it. And then there is one other guy who I've been texting. He was like the last match I had on Tinder.
Was it the Pretty Boy?
No, Pretty Boy doesn't text me anymore because I made too much money. Right. But this guy... I've never met him because we started texting at the end of June and then he had his son. And in Texas, the non-custodial parent gets him June 29th to 31 July. So we just text every once in a while. And so I'm hesitant to get too intimate, I guess, or too like involved because we're not going to meet for, till the end of July or whatever. But I do like talking to him. So I was like, well, if nothing else, like he could be a buddy. Like we talk on the phone or we chat or whatever. So he has the podcast, but those are the only two. And I've had other guys like, oh, you should let me know, have it. Like the catfish guy wanted it really bad. And I'm glad like I didn't give it to him because I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter if they have it. Well, I don't know. It just feels like it's too intimate and too like, this is my life. You know what I mean? Like we talk about a lot of stuff that I don't know. It's kind of weird.
So do you give them do you ever tell them your last name? And is it your married last name or Pritch?
I give them my married last name. Or
let's just Google you real quick.
But when I Google myself a lot. Nothing ever pops up. Nothing. I always Google myself just to make sure. There's a lady who has my maiden name, and she's in the Dallas area.
Well, I mean, you're on IMDb.
Yep, that's probably the one from Britain. There's a chick in, I think, Britain. She's an actress or something.
Yeah, she's been in.
Yeah, so I'm not really on there. Is that
she was
my
nurse
married
too?
Last name or my maiden?
That's your married last name.
Oh, I've never looked at that. Oh, no, the one that I'm thinking is my maiden, but she's a poet or a writer or something over in Britain. But the one who, it was weird because the first marriage, when I got married, the girl in Dallas with my last name was getting married. This is how I found out about her. Getting married on the same day to somebody with the last name Miller. because when I went to, because we registered at like Bed Bath & Beyond or whatever.
Right.
And when I went to pull it up, it was like, pull up the last name. So I put in my last name and it's like, put in your first name. And it's like, oh, which one are you? And so it had my name and her name and then my ex's name and then hers, but both last name Millers. And we got married on the same day.
Wow. That's crazy.
So, yeah.
Apparently somebody has my name too. And he's like an executive of some sort with professional sports teams. He does something. I don't know.
But yeah, I do keep tabs on my Google a lot. I Google myself a lot just to see. Well, and the only thing that usually pops up for me is my LinkedIn.
Well, Holly, here's what we need to do for our next podcast. And I won't remember this till we edit it. So it's going to be probably 2 podcasts from now. You're going to have to tell us how it goes. Download a new app, put down that you're a podcaster or you're a
influencer.
Flight attendant. Looks like you got.
I see people put influencers on there. So maybe I'm an influencer.
Yes. With our
podcaster and influencer with our
22 viewers.
Subscribers.
You know, our numbers are going down. So, we got to get on our family. Why?
We haven't put any reels out.
I know. Listen, I
get it.
I'm waiting to get a bunch of episodes, like a lot more. And then we just
is that what it is?
them. Yeah, that's what it is in my mind.
That's what you're saying? That's the story?
It's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I don't blame you.
So Holly, you came in here today. You had 3 pieces of mail. You finally checked your mail, but this 3 pieces of mail just came in.
Today? No, all yesterday.
And you told me, you said a couple weeks ago, you said, hey, I drive this toll road and I've never gotten anything. And you had the new car with the paper plates. And I said that they'll find you. They will find you. It doesn't matter if you have the paper plate. It doesn't matter if you have out of state. I don't think if you're on here like one day from out of state, I don't think they're going to send you a toll bill. But if you're like back and forth, like you're on there, let's say 115 tolls that, you went through, they're going to send you a bill. So they found you though, the toll authority.
They did. And I got all 3 right here. I opened them here when I got all 3 when I got here. And the first one was a past due bill. And this was for Goldie Hawnda, my old car. This is my past due bill for $345.17. And this says it's the 3rd notice of non-payment. This is the first notice I've ever gotten.
The thing is, you haven't driven Goldie Hawnda in like a couple months.
Right. And when I do drive her, because I do drive her like around town in the morning, if it's cool enough, like when I go to tan or whatever, I drive her there normally. But I haven't driven her on the toll in ages. Since April when I got Charlie. Okay. Then this is for Charlie. This one is only $15.26. But
that's with your new license plate?
That's with my new license plate.
Okay, so they haven't got you with the paper tags yet.
Correct. They haven't got me with the paper tags yet.
They'll get you. But that might take a little bit longer.
This is my other letter. This is a habitual violator determination notice. And it basically says that I am a habitual violator. I have 105 instances of non-payment. I owe them $345.17. And I am now prohibited from operating my vehicle on any toll roads, toll lanes, turnpikes, tunnels, or bridges, which are managed, owned, or operated by NTTA.
Which is everywhere up here you go. So funny story. They just sent that to you in the mail, but the NTTA had put out a contract for process servers to be the ones who delivered those. So you just got a letter. Was it from the NTTA or was it from like an attorney?
It is from NTTA.
Okay, so they had put out that we would deliver those, and so I had to like hand deliver those, and we would get. Oh my gosh, I was doing probably like 400 or 500 of them a month, and just handed them off to Holly, who was a habitual toll violator. Said, if you are caught on the toll, so if you get pulled over on the toll, they will impound your car, basically right there.
Will they?
Well, they said they would, but I don't know that they actually had authority to do that. That's what our notice was, basically. And I don't think yours says that. But I went down to Houston one time and I had...
hold on. I didn't read the whole thing. Now I got to see if it says it's going to be impounded.
No, I had gone to Houston and I had the toll tag. Well, apparently something happened where I was blowing through all these tolls. Does it say you'll be impounded?
It says, so you're prohibited as of this date of notice. You have this, the impoundment of your vehicle for a second or subsequent violation of this order.
So here's the thing though, too.
That's my Utah. But here's the thing. I don't have my Utah plates anymore. I finally put my Texas plates on.
Well, then you're fine. So the Utah plates, they may have, trying to think, maybe they sent it to your old registration because your license plate would come to an old address.
No. I had it registered with the state. So they had my Utah information because when I got the Texas plates, They registered my old address with those plates when they do the paperwork with my current, and then they replaced it. So
I understand. But prior to you getting the new plates, maybe you were getting the bills sent to Utah. That's why you didn't get the bills.
I've never gotten anything. So I'll have to stop on the way home now. I have to figure out where the NTTA is and stop and talk to them.
Oh, it's off of, it's past you. It's off of,
the other direction.
You got to keep going past your house. It's off like Parker or Park, something.
Oh, in Plano. I probably won't go then. I'm not going to lie. I'll have to go another day.
Well, they have new plates. Maybe they won't know. But anyways, I was in Houston and I blew through these, just kept going through all these tolls. Well, then I get to one that, it's like a weird one. And I stop at the toll lady and I didn't have any cash or any change on me because I just had the toll tag. So I didn't think about it. And I was like, well, does this toll tag work? And she's like, yeah, it'll work on this. And I'm like, okay, great. And so she's like, go ahead. And I'm like, awesome. Well, then 2 weeks later, I get 3 bills from that. It wasn't like, so in Houston, they use Easy Tag, and it wasn't an Easy Tag one. It was like Harris County toll or something like that. It was something different. And I get 3 letters from an attorney. And it's like, you didn't pay these bills. or you didn't pay your toll. So you have to pay them. And they were each like, two were like 17 cents and one was 19 cents. But they each had $33 administrative fees on them. And so I had $100 in administrative fees and 45 cents or 50 cents in tolls.
Did you pay it?
Heck no, I didn't pay it. So then I kept getting letters and it was like, we are going to, on your registration, you're not gonna be able to register your car. So on my registration, I get the letter for the registration, and on it, it says like past due tolls or whatever. And I took it in. I'm like, here we go. I'm just gonna try it. So I took it into the registration and I had it folded. So I just showed it to her and she's like, types up, boom, here you go. Here's your new tag, move on. I'm like, hallelujah.
I once had my license suspended here years ago. I was living in College Station, going to school down there, and I got 8 speeding tickets in a 6-month period. And apparently they suspended my license. I never received a letter saying that my license was suspended. I had no clue it was suspended. So it's the year that I have to go in and renew my license.
Yeah.
So I go in and I'm like, okay, I'm renewing this. Okay. And they're like, okay, you have to pay $100 reinstatement fee. And I'm like, a reinstatement fee for what? And they're like, because your license has been suspended. And I'm like, what? My license was suspended. She's like, yeah, from January to May of this year, you had a suspended license. Well, I just happened not to get pulled over. So I got lucky because I literally was driving around with a suspended license. And so I had to pay $100 reinstatement fee. And I'm like, nobody told me that my license was suspended. And she's like, yeah, you should have gotten a letter. But then I think, I don't feel like I got a letter because I got Charlie back in April 1st. Mm-hmm. And I just got my license plates like a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So I feel like the state of Texas just is behind on everything because I had temporary tags till the end of May. And then when I call and I'm like, hey, I call the dealership because I'm like, hey, my tag's expired. And she's like, oh, you're fine. I'm like, so I won't get a ticket? And she's like, oh, maybe.
Yeah, will.
So then they sent me new tags or a new temp tag that I printed. And that was for July 31st. And I think it was probably a week ago. I finally got, maybe 2 weeks ago, I got the.
Well, we printed it and then they called.
Right. I feel like I never got that letter to say my license was suspended, but I do need to be more careful because I do love to drive fast.
Yeah, you do.
Now I need to really be careful on the tollways if they're going to impound my car. But then, I mean, I don't know, though. If they pulled me over, would it pull up? Because that was for Goldie Hawnda. That's not for Charlie.
No, because it's that vehicle. I don't think it's you personally. I think it's that vehicle.
Well, can they do anything now? Because now Goldie Hawnda has I put my Texas plates on it.
I have no idea.
I don't know. I'll call them.
I just deliver the notices. That's all.
Yeah, that's such a waste of money. I gotta have to pay a chunk of $350.
Listen, I pay a ton of money in tolls every year. But for me, like I know a lot of people, they live up here, so we're like at the end of the toll road, right? You know that. So the toll road ends to where I live. And to get anywhere, you have to take the tollways if you want to get there in a timely manner.
In a reasonable. But
there's a lot of people I know that they work off, let's say like off Preston or maybe down by where you live, and they'll take Preston all the way to go to work. And I've taken Preston early in the morning and it's garbage. And so
yeah, it's crazy.
I end up taking the tollway. And I haven't really worked it in. I mean, to me, it's just a cost of doing business. I haven't really worked it into pricing, and I'll probably do that with pricing up here in our area. Just because everywhere you go, you have to take the tollway. Otherwise, I mean, because time is money for me. If I'm at a door and my next door is 5 minutes away taking the tollway, but it's 15 minutes away taking Preston. I mean, I've lost, add that up, I've lost time that I could be out. knocking on doors. So, anyways, I spend a lot of money, big chunk of money on tolls every year. So
see, and I wish that they did it I think Utah has a dumb infrastructure. The only thing I like about Utah roads versus Texas roads is they have a toll lane
where you can go faster.
Yeah, where you can get in that lane. And I've seen that in a couple highways here in Dallas, but I've only seen that on 2 where they have the express lane where you pay the toll. Uh-huh. But I don't know why they just don't do that on all the roads where they just have a toll lane where you can get in that lane and go faster, but they have the toll road. But literally by my place to go anywhere, I'm right by the 2 toll roads. So that's the main roads for me to get anywhere.
Yeah.
It's just dumb. And maybe it'll be different. On a monthly basis. See, and here's the thing. Paying that out on a monthly basis, probably not a big deal. You divide $350 from whenever I moved here. So January till now, that's manageable.
Yeah. So then the way they have it is, you just put an amount. So if you once your toll gets below, let's say $10, it will automatically replenish for, whatever you put it on, $30, $40. I think we replenish at 40. Yeah, but here they also made a rule or a law that says once it's a toll road, it's always a toll road. So it used to be, it used to be a toll road. And then once you paid it off,
it was paid.
Yeah. So I-30, I think was a toll road. And now it's just Interstate 30. And now they've made that law in Texas. So, and I can understand maintenance and things like that, but I don't know. I mean, so the Dallas North Tollway, I think for a little while there was I never paid a toll when I was a kid driving up to, we'd go to, Dallas for whatever reason. There was a portion that we didn't ever pay the tolls on, and now we do. So yeah, once a toll road, always a toll road. It is what it is.
For sure.
Well, Holly, let's finish out here. I am looking at our notes here, and we've had something on here for a long time, and this just happened to me yesterday, actually. I went to Kroger at 6:30, and because we split up dinner at our house, one of the kids helps, I have the boys, Val has the girls, and we make dinner a couple days. Everybody makes dinner their own day. And so I go to Kroger to get food yesterday. And the way our Kroger works, there's 6 self-checkouts, right?
Right.
And then on the other side of the one self-checkout, there's another 3 self-checkouts.
Right.
The small ones. And then there's 2 self-checkouts with the conveyor belt, right? So people with a lot of stuff. So I'm looking at the line and it's probably 12 deep waiting on the 6th checkout. But
is that's only on one side of the store.
Oh, that's only one side.
The other side. The other side has just the small ones, right?
Yeah, the other side just has the small ones, but I think there's 6 of them there too. Okay. So I'm looking and I'm walking from the produce, and that side is always full. And there were probably 12 people in line, 13 people in line waiting for the 6 checkouts, right?
Okay.
Nobody in line waiting for the 3 or the 2, but there were people there. And so I'm like, well, I'll just walk. And I look to the far side. There's nobody in line over on the far side. And I'm like, why are we and I know this is your beef with it. I'm like, so I go and I wait for the 3 and I'm next in line, and I go right in where there's 12 people waiting. And then because I just stopped at the 3 because I saw there was nobody there, but I was headed towards the one with nobody, which was on the other side of the store. So why don't people walk to the other side of the store and just check out?
I don't know if they don't look or if it's that, what's the word I'm looking for? The group mentality, everybody's here, so I'm going to wait in line. But every time I go to Kroger without fail, that happens where I'm the other side of the store, nobody on those checkouts. It's always the one on the grocery side that's full. They never go over to this side, the pharmacy side. And when I used to work in the grocery store, that was what my first job was. And I was an assistant manager on the front end. We would always constantly be pulling people down to hey, if you go to the other side, because it's seems that one side of the store is always busier with checkouts.
Well, the grocery side's always going to be busier, I think.
Right.
Than,
but I don't know. But every time I would check out here when I lived here with you guys, it was that way. And I would walk down to the other side, check out and leave. And I would have to walk down by the grocery side. And people who were in line are still in line.
Not only that, there's no rhyme or reason. One day I'll go and the line's backing up to the bananas. And then they'll go and it's backing down the water aisle. And then we got there's literally 3 lines converging into this one for the 6. You know what I mean? Right. And it's what? Why don't they have somebody that kind of directs traffic?
Well, and they should. And I think the other thing that bothers me, though, is I always end up, it seems, stuck behind the morons who can't find the barcode or don't know how to scan or, nothing. I don't know, man. That makes me so mad when I get stuck. I went one day for Sunday dinner and I went to HEB and I get stuck behind the slowest couple and they're young. So I'm thinking this should be fast at this. Let's go. Takes them forever. Then they can't figure out how to pay. And I'm
now HEB's credit card little machine is a little weird.
And it is dated. I will say that. Come on, these are brand new. Like you should. Why do you not have tap to pay? First of all,
well, they don't have tap to pay, but then you have to put the card. You have to insert the card straight up and down. And I'm like, well, which way does it go? Like I can't figure this out.
No, I do get that, but my whole thing is like, I just feel it's almost like if you've never worked at a grocery store, you're not allowed to use self checkout.
Well, then they have to get rid of self checkout. I mean, you got 2 lines that are like regular checkout, and then the rest are self checkout, and they're not paying me more, and they're not giving me a discount on my groceries.
That's true. It just drives me nuts. That's probably one of the biggest beefs I have about why I hate grocery shopping. Because also the Kroger that I go to now, they have 2 sides with self-checkout. So the one I go to is small,
right?
But they still have the 2 sides, but they only ever have one side open. So then I get stuck there behind slow people, old people, and I just want to go up there. And then you have the person standing there who's supposed to be helping, who's either not paying attention.
Oh, you wait 5 minutes once that light starts blinking.
Right.
And it seems like every time I do go into, so then I'm like, well, I'm just going to go to the regular checkout, right? Just the person checkout. And then I get there and I unload all my stuff. And then it's like, oh, we can't find this. Click the little button and now the light's flashing and all my stuff's already there. Somebody's behind me.
Right.
Like,
oh, see, this is why I hate grocery shopping.
And they're like, we need somebody to aisle to register 8 for a price check. And they're like, oh, let me go to the back and find another shirt that has the same label. And I'm like, oh,
right. Yeah.
Like one day I started like looking it up on Walmart. Like they were buying one of those like for their kids, like a floaty thing that comes across the front, like, called puddle jumpers or something. Mm-hmm. And the couple picked the one that did not have the tag on it. And so they're like, oh, this doesn't have a tag. And the lady's looking all over. And I'm like, puddle jumper, boom, 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 dolphin. There it is. I'm like, is this the one? Like, oh yeah, thank you. I'm like, oh my gosh. So then the manager had to come over and I was just like, oh gosh.
Yeah, it drives me nuts. That's probably my main beef with checking out, to the point where it's like, I used to work in a grocery store, so I'm still pretty familiar with the way things work, that when people have problems in front of me, I will voice my input. Like if they can't find a produce that they're going to ring up and it's like a bell pepper and they're trying to figure out, they're typing in like green, whatever, you could type in, and I'm like 4065. And they're like, huh? I'm like, type in 4065. And then they, put on the next thing and I'm like, 4089. And then they're like, how do you know this? I'm like, I used to work at a grocery store.
They're all the same.
Like, they're all the same. They've been the same for years. So I go through.
Well, I don't understand. They've started putting the barcodes on the vegetables, right?
Right.
So you can scan it, but then it never scans. Like it scans and it's like, item not found. I'm like,
right.
It says 4089. Like, why? And then at Walmart, if it's an item not found, you have to wait for the person to come over.
Oh my gosh, that's annoying.
And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's my biggest beef with grocery store shopping. That's the big reason I hate going. So I always try to go during off times too. Like I did take Susie the other day to her first experience at HEB. And we happened to go, we didn't go to the one that I always go to. It seems the one that I always end up at is busy no matter when you go. We went to the big one in Plano. I don't know if you've been to that one, but it's got like a little like garden section, like Lowe's.
The HEB?
Yeah.
It's just ginormous compared to the one
huge.
In Frisco.
Well, we went, it was like on a Wednesday or Thursday. Must have been a Wednesday, I think. And it was like maybe 1:00. Mm-hmm. Hardly anybody there. It was amazing. I didn't have to wait in line for tortillas. Like the whole tortilla thing was full. Cause like you go on a weekend and there's nothing in stock. Everything's gone.
Everything's empty. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I took her there for her first experience and she was highly impressed. And then her brother-in-law was like, we never go to HEB. There's just too many choices. And they're like, yeah, we just need like 3 choices, but then you have 14 choices. And I'm like, this is too many. Like, I can't narrow it down.
Which one do I get?
Yeah,
I get it. So I guess that's the reason why you just stay home. Like you can't be motivated to get fully dressed to go to the grocery store. And I
did
understand
yesterday.
It.
Yeah, I went yesterday, but it was like, what can I carry in? Like I need some food, but I was like, you know what? Just because I've been working out and trying not to eat crap, I'm like, I'm just going to live on cold cereal for a while. Like it'll fill me up, but I'll lose weight still. And then I can eat my protein bar and some peanut butter and get in all of the stuff I need. But it was literally like cold cereal and some apples. And that's what I'm living on. So.
Well, maybe that'll work. Down 7 pounds. 7 pounds? Is that what it was?
5 pounds.
Oh, I'm down 7
Minus
pounds.
the 16. So 21.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Well, Holly, let's wrap it up for today. Next episode, we should have one of my old friends, Greg, on the show. He is an athlete. He played semi-pro football, and now he works with men, helping them become better, like change mindset, change their body physique. He's owned a couple gyms. He is a personal trainer, fitness guy. So awesome. We should have him on the next show so he can kind of whip us into shape a little bit, I think. Hopefully.
To be, for sure. You anyway. You need to get yourself to the gym, bro.
Yeah, I need to go. Maybe I'll go today. No, probably not. I've got today's Tuesday. I got volleyball practice. But anyways, thanks for being here with us. And we look forward to you being on the next show.
See ya.
Hey, what's up, my channel? Please hit the drop a like and hit the subscribe button. Looking for my first subscriber. Can't subscribe myself. Can't do that for some reason. I don't know why. Wish you could.